What's up everyone, I'm Jintex from JNJ and today I will be explaining the CSS Box Model, which helps us understand how much space each HTML element on our web page is taking. The CSS Box Model explains the way every HTML element in our browser is rendered. It consists of 4 different areas in a rectangular box: content, padding, border and margin. These 4 areas together represent the space that the specific HTML element will occupy. Each area size, position and other properties can be modified with CSS. Let us look at each in detail. First, we have the content area. This is the core of each HTML element and it is where our actual content is positioned. This is the information that each HTML tag may contain, such as images, text, videos and others. The size of the content area is defined by the width, height and their respective min and max properties. For the next 3 areas, each can be separated into 4 separate sections: top, right, bottom and left. Each can be modified by its respective properties. The second area is the padding one. This is the space that sits between the content area and the border area, separating the two of them. The properties which modify its size are padding top, right, bottom, left and their shorthand padding property. The third area is the border. It is the border that wraps around the HTML element. Through its properties, we can change its type, background, color and thickness. Usually its shorthand property border is used, but you can specify each of its properties individually, such as border color, or be more specific with each site's properties, such as border top color. The fourth and last area is the margin one. Margin is used to give empty space between the element and its neighbors. It can be modified by its margin top, right, bottom, left and shorthand margin properties. It should be noted that there is a slight difference for inline CSS elements. For them, height is defined by the line height property instead of the padding and margin ones. A CSS property that should be discussed here is the box sizing one, which defines how the total width and height of an element is calculated. By default, it has a value of content box, which means that when you assign width and height to an element, these properties are applied only to the element's content box. Any padding or border additions will be added outside of the specified height and width. For example, if you had an element with a height of 250 pixels and added a total padding height of 80 pixels and a border height of 30 pixels, the total height would be 360 pixels. The preferred alternative, usually allowing for easier calculations, is the border box property, which makes it so that the padding and border heights and widths are included in the element sizes. If we were to reuse the example from above, now the total height would remain 250 pixels. However, the element's content box would now be limited to 140 pixels. An interesting feature of margins is margin collapse, which occurs when sometimes the top and bottom margins of blocks are collapsed into a single margin whose size is the largest of the individual margins. It occurs in a couple of main scenarios. The margins of adjacent siblings are collapsed. If you were to have 2 boxes on top of each other, only the biggest margin would be applied between them. Here's an example on the screen that can confirm this. Parent and descendants collapse. If the parent element doesn't have a border, padding, inline part, block formatting context created to separate the margin top from the parent and the margin top of one or more of its descendant blocks, or no border, padding, inline content, height or min height for the margin bottom of a parent and their children, then the margins collapse and they end up outside the parent. Some exceptions exist, such as it occurs only for elements in flow layout, while other forms of layouts such as grid or flex do not allow for their children to experience margin collapse. When an element has been positioned absolutely or is floating, its margin will not collapse. More complex cases can occur in specific situations, especially once 2 or more of the above mentioned points are combined. Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe for more and leave a like to show your appreciation. Jinfreaks out.